ear-shattering screams and things lurking in the darkness and bloody faces are just some of the effects that horror movies use to send your brain into high alert. And according to scientists, not only do these fictive horrors make your brain abandon all reason, they also heighten your risk of getting a blood clot. So let's talk about that some more, the fact that horror movies can actually scare you to death. And remember, if you like what we're doing on this channel, then subscribe so you'll never miss a video. And let's continue. In 2015, an experiment was made by the Dutch doctor Frits Roosendaal, where he had 21 test subjects watch the horror movie Insidious, and then right after the movie, he took a blood sample from each person. After testing these blood samples, he discovered that the test subjects' risk of getting a blood clot was significantly higher after watching the movie. This Dutch experiment is just one of many that have convinced scientists that horror movies affect the viewer's body and mind much more than we previously thought. Horror directors take advantage of our primitive instincts and push those buttons that trick the brain into preparing for life-threatening dangers. Through simple sound bites, they force their way into certain parts of our cerebral centers, and through bizarre scenarios, they distort our gamut of emotions so even the most illogical scenario can scare us to death. When the body reacts to a scary creature in a horror movie, it's a desperate attempt to protect us from what the brain thinks is a real danger. The test subjects from the Dutch experiment that I mentioned previously had a bigger risk of getting a blood clot after the movie because their bodies had accelerated the production of the protein coagulation factor 4. This protein floats in your blood, and its job is to keep a careful eye on your veins and make sure that there are no holes in them. If the protein discovers a hole, it starts a biochemical domino effect that gets a web of proteins to seal the hole. In life-threatening situations, the body starts to produce more of this protein to prevent blood loss as quickly as possible. However, the brain can't tell the difference between real dangers and horror movies. So that means when you watch a horror movie, your body is unnecessarily on guard. So the excess blood proteins actually increase the risk of blood coagulation and creating a life-threatening blood clot. The doctor, Frits Roosendaal, calculated that his test subjects' risk of getting a blood clot had increased 19% after the movie. A well-constructed horror movie doesn't even need a thrilling plot to work. Just through the effective use of sound and light, they can really scare us. Just try to mute a horror movie, it's just not the same. It's just not scary that way. An old trick is to sprinkle in horrifying screams throughout the movie, and a scientist in Switzerland, Luc Arnal, has figured out why this sound affects us so much. An experiment made in 2015 showed that we don't understand screams the same way we understand other sounds which are processed in the brain's auditory center. A scream directly affects the brain's fear center, amygdala. It's an almond-shaped structure located deep within the temporal lobes of the brain that, among other things, controls our fear and defense mechanisms. In this area, there are 12 million neurons that can trigger rapid breathing and heart beating, and also increase sweat production and attention. So by affecting amygdala, a scream awakens our primitive instincts that make us capable of either running or putting up a fight immediately. It's a reaction that has ensured our survival as humans because a scream means that someone is in grave danger, and thereby also the one who hears the scream. A brain center like amygdala doesn't work alone. During the entire day, our brain cells communicate with each other to solve the complicated tasks that we encounter throughout the day. So when fear takes control of your body, it's because amygdala, in joint counsel with numerous other brain centers, have estimated that you are in danger. So when you hear all this stuff, you probably wonder why so many people still really enjoy watching horror movies. Because despite the fact that our bodies are actually preparing for life-threatening situations when we watch these kind of movies, the genre is still really popular. And in 2007, two scientists explained why that is. They made an experiment where they divided 87 test subjects into two groups: the ones that loved horror movies and the ones that hated them. Before they showed them 10 minutes of a horror movie, the test subjects were asked about their mood. Then they watched the 10 minutes and were asked about their mood again afterwards. And the result was that all of the test subjects felt anxiety and fear after watching the clip, but it wasn't at the expense of their otherwise positive emotions. The group that hated horror movies had just as many positive emotions after watching the clip as before. However, the group that loved horror movies were filled with even more positive and cheerful emotions after watching the clip. So some people would maybe argue that horror movies make you happy. So that was it for today and for this Halloween special. So now you know that horror movies could potentially scare you to death, but apparently they also make you happier. Do you like horror movies? And if you do, then tell me your favorite in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, then please throw a like at it. I'll see you soon.